We're live. This is lunchtime with Tim Byrne, almost live. Actually, we're going to try to do this every Wednesday around lunchtime. This is like a 1 o'clock doctor's lunch. Hi, Anthony.
Hey, how you doing, Tim?
Good. How are you?
Oh.
This is far better than last time. Last time was a bit of like a shit show. We didn't do very well. But this time we got some fancy lights and better cameras and a phone that has no duct tape on it. Okay, so let's because we're going to keep this to half an hour.
Half an hour.
Half an hour. That's all we got. I want to thank Stadia Glass and Door and Byrne On Demand Handyman always for being our sponsors, even though they haven't paid a dime yet. Today's topic, number one thing I want to talk about is Canada Post.
Wow.
Okay, so Canada Post is doing rotating strikes right now in Canada for our U.S. listeners, and I'm sure a lot of people down in the U.S. have the same problem with the United States Postal Service. And as they rotate their strikes around Canada, I'm going to present to you that they're rotating them because, and why they haven't gone in full out blown strike is because they can't afford to. Canada Post did, from what I understand, about $8.4 billion in business last year.
And how much of that was profit?
Okay, so you had a different comment off the air than I did. So I understood that they actually made about $166 million on $8.4 million. You told me that...
Well, there was an article I was reading that they haven't been profitable in the past, was it 12, 17 years, something like that?
So this is a major corporation, $8.4 million worth of gross revenue Canada-wide, and they've made no money. Where'd you read that from? My article was CBC, which ironically, CBC is another government agency or a government ground corporation like Canada Post. My article was from the CBC that they did $8.4 billion and made $166 million. Where was your article from?
I just picked it up. I was looking at
Google.
Googling articles on
I
Canada
Googled
Post.
it.
The pros and cons.
Okay, so I'll be honest. I think Canada Post should shut down. I think there's 67,000 employees there that should be unemployed. That's a pretty bold statement to say. You can flick that out.
Well, they also said over the next 5 years, a lot of the employees will be retiring anyways. About 15,000. I mean, that's what they quoted.
Okay, but in today's modern world, when you got FedEx and UPS, and you look at companies like Amazon and Wayfair, they don't use Canada Post.
No.
And really, all I get in the mail now today, I don't know about the rest of the world, I get a lot of junk mail, and the only people that actually send me anything by Canada Post is government agencies.
Yes.
Right, utilities, taxes, CRA, which is our what do they call it in the U.S.? They call it... what's the name of the taxation agency in the U.S.? Come on. What is it called? Al, what's it called? They don't call it CRA. They call it Uncle Sam. I mean, I only get government mail from Canada Post. I don't get anything other than that. And the truth is I'm not sure why they don't convert it all over to email.
And unaddressed mail.
Yeah. So I figure there's 35 million people in Canada. Canada Post shuts down. And we take 5 years to do it. Get rid of the 67,000 employees. And yes, everybody's going, what? Get rid of all these employees? I don't think the government should be responsible for making jobs. I don't think the government's good at running a company. I think when you see Canada Post that's in a deficit and constantly fighting just to make a few bucks, if any, depending on whether it's Google or the CBC you're looking at, I'm not sure if they're required anymore. FedEx, UPS, and those kind of companies can do all the deliveries. The Canadian government could actually reorientate it and honestly, for less than $1 billion, give every single person in Canada Wi-Fi and internet, set up the rest of the structure beyond the major centers of Calgary, Edmonton, Vancouver, Montreal, Toronto, Halifax, like go outside into the farther corners of this massive, almost 10 million square kilometer country and give everybody internet and give everybody a laptop and give them a canada.ca address. So it would be timbyrne@canada.ca and just send all the mail through an email address. The infrastructure setup would be less than $1 billion. And to manage that would be less than $1 billion.
But now we have the cannabis distribution.
Yeah. Okay. That thing is really weird. So in Canada today, we are 100% legal pot. You can buy it, sell it, smoke it. You can actually smoke it out in the street if you really wanted to, as long as it's not anywhere you can smoke cigarettes. I believe you can smoke cannabis. They this is the funny thing about Canada Post. Unlike FedEx or UPS or those guys that do major deliveries, my wife is a queen of online shopping, and all major couriers will leave the package at your door. My wife has ordered wine and had it shipped to the house, and they will leave it unless it's cold.
Yes.
They'll leave it outside the door. Canada Post refuses to leave it outside the door.
You have to have ID and you have to sign for
And
it.
you have to be there for it, right?
Yes.
So otherwise you have to go to a Canada Post service center to pick it up. And they don't operate like normal retailers. So for you and I who get home at 7:30, 8 o'clock at night from working all day, you can't even go pick the stupid shit up. That in itself is futile. And I'll be honest, the only reason they chose to go on strike today or in this last month was because of cannabis becoming legalized in Canada, because the governments were going to realize a lot of revenue through delivery, and now they rotate those strikes to stop that delivery so they can really affect Canada's new business, which ironically, they're in the cannabis business. I don't think the government should be in cannabis business. I don't think they should be in the liquor business. I don't think they should be in Canada Post. I don't think they should have the CBC. But Canada Post, right now on our doorstep, on a technological level, is it's archaic. It's no different than the music industry. You know, Alex and I had that conversation the other night. 15 years ago, when they decided to rent music, we'll do the evolution of that. We went from my age, from records to CDs, and then iTunes came along and said you can buy the song, not a whole album. And then things like Pirate Bay. Remember Pirate Bay? Yeah, Pirate Bay. This is all this illegal sharing going on, and the record companies were like, "We're going to sue. We're going to shut it down." Actually, Pirate Bay got shut down 3, 4, 5 times through legal proceedings, and then reopened up in other countries, and people found the website again. So, you know, and then you watch, now we rent music. We pay a service fee every month and just rent it. I think of the thousands and thousands of dollars I got in LPs in my house. I still got them all in a bookshelf. And today, for $10 a month, I can listen to anything I want. Okay, just like the evolution of music, I think the evolution of distribution of information has gone from a postie, a guy, a girl walking up to your house, dropping off your mail, to receiving it by email. And I'm not sure if there's any relevance anymore to Canada Post. What do you think?
I think that Canada Post now, I mean, they're there for certain items, obviously the government-related things, but going back to the email and the whole paperless society, it makes a lot more sense to go on the web. When
Stadia Door and Glass last year, everybody on their computers had a printing server.
Yes.
And I said to everybody, no more printing. And now I left the printing servers on, and they still continue to print. People are running back and forth to printers.
I still like the feel of paper, though.
Today, or months ago, but today, Stadia is 100% paperless. And months ago, I took the printing servers off of everybody's computer. Not only we picked up about 15% in productivity labor, because the actual time walking over to the copier,
yes,
the time of storage and filing all that paper is all gone. We actually started to save in Stadia, just a Stadia alone, and this is funny, right? Like your Office Depot, we save monthly real savings of almost $800 a month in paper.
Wow.
$800. No paper clips, no staplers, no staple removers, no liquid paper. Oh my God, liquid paper, right? That's an antique. But it really, never mind the labor savings, the paper savings, the environmental savings, you know, and I tell everybody, all the people that were into printing, like you.
Yes.
Okay, so if we don't need to, why would we just forget about the savings? Tuck those off to the side. Why would you sacrifice the planet's future, your kids' future, for paper? Like just when you put it in that perspective, and everybody goes, because we are too involved into today, this moment, and we're all in the present. The truth is we're creating a massive amount of waste. So whether it's Canada Post or whether it's Little Stadia, I'm not sure why you'd want to involve yourself in destroying the planet 25 years from now. There's just no reason to do it anymore.
Yet big companies will still send you those big, huge, thick catalog books. Meanwhile, everything's online.
Yeah, there's just no need for it anymore.
Yeah.
Saying that,
well, it's like Yellow Pages, same thing.
Look at the phone. Yeah, so there's a big one. Yellow Pages is gone, right? Completely 100% wiped out. Nobody would open up a Yellow Page book. So why would anybody want to get mail anymore? Why do you want to get mail? Honestly, my wife and I, we don't check that mailbox maybe once and we still get direct mail service to the house, which is futile. I'm not sure why it doesn't go to a super box.
It should,
if we're going to get any. But maybe we check it once a week, and we get mail delivery service every day. I'm not sure why it isn't every second day for the amount of mail I get. I get two government things a day, one government thing a week. And they can bring shit the guy comes to my house, whether he has something to deliver or not, he brings it to my house.
Yeah.
It's bizarre. Drives me crazy. I think Canada Post should shut down. I think Trudeau, as I roll my eyes, I think Trudeau should literally look at going, okay, why do we have it? What's the point? Why wouldn't we just advance our civilization to the next level? Why doesn't Canada be the front runner rather than the back runner? Why don't we just go, let's make a change for the better? And by the way, so for the 67,000 people out there that go, that's my job. If you've read any articles on the internet in the last 2-3 years, we're in the middle of a technological revolution. And Oxford University, if you look up, and I can't quote them, I can only paraphrase it, but Oxford University did a massive study. And 45% of the occupations we have got a title for are going to change and disappear over the next 25 years. They also said the same amount of new jobs will be created from this technological advancement, and the transition will take 25 years for it to happen. And only because of the naysayers and the people that don't want to change to the new technology, that's the only reason it's going to take the evolution of 25 years to actually make it happen. It's not because it isn't there and available to make that transition now. And I'll point in fact, us sitting here on a camera live, 10 years ago, we wouldn't have done this.
No.
10 years ago, you and I would have went door to door and shared our opinions and our business lives face to face. And today, now we do it on camera, which is really dynamic when you think about it.
And out of the comfort zone.
Totally out of the comfort zone. This is, but I think companies are scared to take that risk. And then I go back to what we talked about last week when people don't want to go on a podcast and profile the company and do it. Yet they're willing to go door to door and shake hands with people and say, I'm Tim Byrne from Stadia. I'd like to do your glass and door work.
Yeah, definitely.
But then they wouldn't come on a show and broadcast it out. I'm not sure. And I said, we had this conversation with our kids outside. If you can't say it in front of the person you're saying it to, then you probably shouldn't be saying it at all. So sitting here, I would have the same conversation with a client sitting with them across a boardroom table as I would live on the air.
Yeah.
It's what makes the idea of social media, and whether you do it face-to-face in a boardroom or whether you do it live on a camera, what's the difference?
It shouldn't be.
It shouldn't be any different. I just think we're about to change. I think the whole world's about to change. Okay, next subject. And you don't know much about this one.
No.
And this is a civil rights issue for me, and I'm a big advocate of civil rights. I think you should have the freedom to express yourself, the freedom to protest, the freedom to have Steve Bannon come to Toronto and talk about his political views. And one of the civil rights that is about to be affected in this country, and I don't think anybody's really taken much heed to it. You didn't know about it?
No, I didn't.
So Justin Trudeau, our prime minister here in Canada, along with Consensus Canada or Census Canada. I don't know if it's Consensus. It's Consensus Canada?
Census Canada.
Census? So every couple of years, they mail out, through Canada Post, they mail out a document to families for us to fill out so they can get a sense of the economy, so they can feel where we are, what we're doing. And it's a questionnaire. And the challenge that the Canadian government has had is that people don't like to fill them out.
Okay.
They ignore them. And by the way, if I understand this correctly, and I'm sure people are going to say no, 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 but if I understand this correctly, we legally have to do it.
Just like going to jury duty.
Right. The ironic part is that nobody does it. And the reason why they don't enforce the legality of the consensus every few years is because so many people renege on doing it that they can't actually enforce a penalty against it, which is kind of ironic. This is by the way, very similar to marijuana. The only reason they made it legal is they couldn't enforce it anymore, yeah. which makes the whole, when you look at law and the way government produces law, the only time they actually make a law is when they can enforce it.
Yeah.
And they make it legal or they overlook it the minute they can't enforce it. Law isn't about actually, and I'm not talking about murders, but laws are created when they can enforce them, and they turn and run the other way when they can't enforce them, which is kind of an oxymoron, right?
Yeah.
Because really, pot in Canada has been wickedly legal. Everybody smokes it. We had Bob Marley's birthday, May 5th, when they all smoked
420.
420?
410. Yeah.
410, 420?
420.
Is it April 20th? Yeah. So April 20th, they all sit down at Queen's Park, which is the capital of Ontario. And 100,000 people have been going out there for the last, 10, 15 years? Smoking dope in front of everybody. But the cops don't come and arrest them. Meanwhile, it was totally illegal.
Yeah.
And nobody went down there and arrested them because there's 100,000 people. What are they going to do? What would the police do with 100,000 people smoking dope? Put them all in jail? To the point where they go, well, think about it, this is stupid, right?
Pull up the buses.
Right. Right. I mean, what are they going to do? Haul all these people in? They're all puffing away.
Yeah.
Did you go? Did you go really? Alex Byrne smoked dope on Bob Marley's birthday at Queen's Park in Ontario. That's funny. I'm going to tell Kevin the goat. Oh, we have a goat in that corner. That corner. You can see the goat. And then on that side, can you see it?
It's not on Instagram yet.
Oh, it's not on Instagram. We're not on Facebook yet, though. Oh, we're live on Facebook too? That's so exciting. Okay, so we go back to Consensus Canada. So Justin Trudeau and Consensus Canada are planning, and they're throwing the idea out of taking 500,000 Canadians at random and getting permission to get all your financial banking information to review. So they want to look at your credit cards.
Whose permission?
They're not going to get your permission. They're going to make legislation. They're going to make it allowed to go into your private bank account, into your private credit cards, your banking card, your ATM card, and review what you spend your money on.
Lifestyle audit.
Yeah. Okay, this is a lifestyle audit. Okay, so for everybody out in the world that has ever put a deck on the back of your house and paid a contractor cash, they're going to ask you why you took $2,000 cash out of your bank account. I have a real problem with an invasion of your privacy having this done. And I would tell everybody at this moment in Canada, anybody listening to this, spread this podcast around, not only for my ratings, but I think it needs to be spread around to go, you need to call your MP. You need to call the guy that represents your area and go, I do not want any part of Consensus Canada going into my personal, private banking information. I think it's a wicked, wicked invasion of privacy. Have you heard about it all?
I mean, you figure the
question from the audience. 1 second.
I was going to say, you figure, let's say the European weddings, when they start giving envelopes to bride and groom when they get married.
Right.
You put $1,000 in their envelope. Are they going to want to tax that now to the bride and groom? Or are they going to question, where did that $1,000 go? Yeah,
the whole idea of this is, I get. There's two problems. One, there's a natural invasion of privacy. The other one is this a formula? Is this the first piece of a bigger recipe to tax people on gifts?
Possibly. When
my mother decides to transfer $5,000 over to me, are they going to start saying that's a transfer of revenue to you? And does that become a revenue? Does that become taxable?
I mean, they do it with the casinos now. If you win a certain amount of money at the casinos now.
I thought that was all tax-free in the casinos.
It is, but
in the U.S., it's not. You guys get ripped off. Your lotteries, everything gets taxed. In Canada, that's all free.
But you have to reveal if you've made a substantial winning, it is actually recorded.
Does the casino?
The casino records.
And do they submit it? Like, do they send it to
They must send it on their end.
So, for anybody listening, I think you should stop and go, I'm going to make a phone call, or I'm going to send an email to my MP, my mayor, whatever political candidate you're close to, and go, I don't think that's right. I don't think it's right. I think everybody's ignoring it because it's really low key news.
Yeah.
And I got why it's low key, because I'm sure if it was brought really frontline media attention, I think a lot of Canadians would go, okay, so when you really look into that, there's some awkward moments there where people are going to see gifts, paying a contractor. There's a whole bunch of stuff that just dynamically changes.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure I go to the variety store and I buy a cigar and I pay cash. I'm sure Buddy doesn't put it in his till.
Yeah.
Okay, so then that brings, and the side point of that, let's talk about the underground economy. I assume the government knows there's a problem with the underground economy, and that's why they want to do the consensus.
And that's why legalize pot as well.
Totally right. That takes a few $1 billion out of the underground economy and dumps it into mainstream. I think what the government needs to really stare at is not how to trap people to pay more taxes, but say to yourself, if there's such a big problem with the underground economy, maybe there's a problem with the way we tax people, rather than trying to find a way to tax the rest of their income. The problem actually doesn't lie with we're not catching all the revenue. The problem lies that we're taxing the wrong way, because Canadians, and yes, we're a socialistic country, whether we want to admit it or not. And I'll tell you that most Canadians would agree that they're overtaxed, and not overtaxed at source, but it's all the little taxes along the way. It's the buying a car and then reselling it, and the HST transfer payments down. And
all the other taxes that go along with that.
Sure, you pay your income tax and you get paid, you're paying 22, 32, 35, 40, 47. Some people are paying 51% income tax. And then you go to the store and you buy your not groceries, but you buy jeans for $100 and you pay another 13%. And then you go to sell your jeans on Kijiji. I'm waiting for them to catch that whole, when you go sell all your stuff on Kijiji, I'm waiting for them to go, okay, we're taxing you on that sale.
Yeah. RCMP is going to pull up at garage sales pretty soon too.
Okay. So I have friends that professionally do garage sales, like on Saturdays. Yeah. They run around and they buy stuff and then they resell it. Yeah. Are they going to try to catch all that?
Yeah.
And maybe the problem isn't the fact that they're trying to catch it. Maybe they should stop trying to figure out how to catch people and figure out how to tax them right. Because I appreciate we have to pay for social services, but maybe the problem isn't the way they're collecting it, but the way they're distributing it. Like, there's a moment in time where you go, man, everybody's cheating.
Yeah.
At Stadia many years ago, I realized, and I'll give you where I stopped and thought about what was going on. At Stadia, we had a increase in spending at Staples or Grand and Toy at the time, or Office Depot in August and September. So our August and September bills would literally double than any other time of the year.
Why is that?
Staff were taking pens, pencils, highlighters, staplers.
Back to school.
Back to school. Right. So we went to this whole, you got to sign in, sign out, get supplies, had a supply chain, really enforce it. But the problem still happened. That was the funny part.
Lock the supply count.
Oh my God, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's not me. And by the way, so now this is universal through the whole company. So any of the guys listening, you're more than welcome to participate in it. And we don't do this anymore because, of course, our supply chain has died with pens and pencils and staplers, right? We just don't buy it anymore, so it doesn't make any difference. But 10 years ago or 15 years ago, we would make little goodie bags and hand them to the staff with highlighters and all the crap in it because we knew it was going anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, so instead of fighting the problem, I submitted to it. The best part of that was that you get to go, your goodie bag's worth $40. At least everybody was aware of what they were getting and the value of what they were getting, rather than me saying, you only get one highlighter every year, right? Sure, take a bag, right? By the way, this is the same with the caulking and the screws in the back. We have a Home Depot in our office. I mean, we have every single part, piece, masking tape, duct tape. And I'm sure Stadia over the last 35 years has built a lot of sheds. Right? I'm sure of it. I'm sure there's a lot of sheds being built, and there's a lot of nice sealed units and glass and sheds and skylights. The truth is, any guy that comes up to us and says, I want to recaulk my house, we give him the caulking. It's just easier.
Yeah.
And everybody's working hard here. So why not offer that out, right? Like, just tell us. Because rather than having inventory stolen, we can now manage our inventory.
And I think internal theft is huge in a lot of big business as well.
Yeah. I know a couple of retailers that have literally have shopping days for their staff.
Nice.
and go, it's free, or it's just the cost of what we paid for it. It's discounted down to the point where it's not worth anything, to stop the internal stealing rather than fight it, and hire loss prevention people and sit there and count every bucket of screws and nails at Home Depot. Go, we're going to have a Sunday night. It's the staff day, right? And let people do what they need to do. Yeah. Don't fight. And I think the Canadian government, going back to the consensus, I think what they're trying to do is fight a battle they can't win. That's what I think. And I think everybody should call their MP and say, I'm not having my financial records exposed. You can flick that. My cue cards don't get turned over very often. So I get stuck and I don't know what to say.
I'm going to get you
a monitor?
Yeah, with the fucking
a clicker?
You don't want to flick those? You can flick this one too. It's okay. Good. I will talk about that for 2 seconds though. No, you don't have to put it back up. Interest rates are going up.
Oh, recession?
I think so. I think that so the Bank of Canada's done a couple, right? They've done 2 or 3.
Yep.
And they said they're going to do another 4 more over the next year. And I don't know if anybody watches mainstream news, but the Toronto Real Estate Board said they're expecting a slowdown in housing starts and resales over the next year. Now, today, Donald Trump is not in charge of Congress anymore.
Yeah.
I think so. A minority government and a majority government, and everybody thinks that having a minority. Sorry, many people feel minority government. They have a definite opinion about a minority government in comparison to a majority government. And majority governments, especially here in Canada, they have the power basically to do whatever they want whenever they want it. Where a minority government doesn't. They go, I have an idea. You guys vote on it. And they vote down. Yeah. Minority governments don't get anything done.
Yeah.
They just don't. Whether it's right or wrong, the idea of a majority government, whether their idea is right or wrong, at least they can get things passed, pushed, and done. In a minority government, it costs millions of dollars now to debate a piece of legislation to infinity, and nothing actually happens.
Whether it's Republican, Democrats, liberal, progressive, conservative, there's always that history too that we have to argue. Yeah,
we have to fight it, right?
Yeah,
we have to fight it, and so I think that I think what's happened in the last 5 years is that the economy's been robust. I think, and ironically, 2 years ago, especially for Canada, 2 years ago is when interest rates should have went up. Governments are too slow though to catch on. To put them up now is dumb, considering we have a brand new NAFTA deal. We have the U.S. Congress, which is not controlled by Donald Trump anymore, good or bad. It's going to slow government down and making decisions. Minimum wage went up in Canada, which devastated a lot of small businesses and put them in harm's way.
But then it came back down for
Ontario anyway. It came right down.
Yeah.
Doug Ford pushed that off because there was supposed to be 2 increases over the course of 2 years.
Yeah.
And now there was only one. And he said, we're not doing the other. By the way, whether you like it or not, and for all the people that are advocates for minimum wage being increased, him stopping it stopped inflation temporarily and gave everybody a chance to breathe for the next couple of years. And I think that more initiatives like that have to happen and relief to small businesses, because as the economy spirals out of control a bit, in that, you talk about the aluminum and steel tariffs that the U.S. has put on, and places like Hamilton are just going to get destroyed. They can't sell their stuff.
Yeah.
And to go to China or Russia and sell it, which is an awesome idea. The problem is the shipping costs are 3 times the cost. So they can deviate and move their product somewhere else, but then their costs go up anyway. So there's no real value in them moving it somewhere else. So we got aluminum and steel tariffs. Minimum wage went up. We had a government that past government, liberal government, that spent a lot of money. Interest rates are going up, and they're going to continue to go up. I just think there's a real sense of instability.
Yeah,
and I smell a recession coming.
I mean, his whole delay on the minimum wage was: do I save the business that employs the people, or do I save the employee?
Yeah, the funny thing about minimum wage, and I don't want to talk about this very much because we're running out of time. But the Tim Hortons, really big here in Canada. Large coffee is $2. In the last 6 months, when you travel on our major freeways, the 400 series freeways here in Ontario, do you know when you go buy a coffee at Tim Hortons, it's now $2.30? And I know that is purely, they're doing it on the major highways because you're kind of trapped. You can't go to anybody else, right? You got to go to the whatever coffee shop's located on the, they call them en routes here, but they're the
truck stops.
Truck stops.
Yeah.
But when you're on the highway, you're forced into that truck stop if you want to get gas or whatever. So you always pay a little bit extra. But Tim Hortons raised their prices up in the last year to $2.30 for that large coffee that everywhere else is $2. And I'm going to tell you that in the next year, that large coffee is going to be $2.30 everywhere. Going back to minimum wage, the increase in your income globally is going to be digested very quickly through the increase in your spending.
It'll be offset.
Totally offset.
Yeah.
I've read a couple of articles, Google, and I can't tell you where they came from. I read a couple of articles about bread. Bread in the 1920s in comparison to your income is the exact same price today in comparison to your income. They were wheat products. They were talking about a loaf of bread in 1922 being 5 cents, but the average income
it was a cost of living item that was gauged on the economy and inflation.
Based off of hourly rates and inflation.
Yeah,
and they say today, the same loaf of bread against the same wages is identical.
Yeah.
You're constantly, between your personal household incomes and inflation, you're constantly battling the two, just trying to stay ahead. And the real only way to battle it is to become smarter, faster, greater than the competitor. And this is a global free market, right? I mean, you try to become more competitive, faster, better at what you do. And when you try to make everybody be the same, well, there's no advantage.
It's called competition.
Yeah. Yeah. Blue ribbon society is what I say we're all in right now, where everybody gets a blue ribbon just for participating. That's the whole minimum wage thing. But that's why I believe there's going to be a recession, because we've spent the last 15, 20 years trying to make this blue ribbon. Kids can't lose a baseball game.
Yeah.
If you just show up to the track and field meet, you get a participation trophy. And I think that people need to lose. I also think people need to win. But I think you need to have both so that people become better at what they do.
But they also have that sense of failure, because if they don't know what failure feels like, they'll be more devastated when something majorly goes wrong in their life.
Yeah, Wayne Gretzky always said he had to, he's shot at the net more times than he put it in the net.
Yeah.
Right? Tiger Woods has said, I've missed more drives than I've placed.
Yeah.
And I think that you have to. You want me to wrap this up? Okay. I'm going to wrap this up. This is our lunchtime. Yeah. We're PM Expo, Construct Canada, November 28th, 29th, and 30th booth. This is Tim Byrne Almost Live booth with Byrne On Demand, Handyman, and Stadia Door and Glass. We're at booth 1648. Now, we are setting up a broadcasting booth, and we are profiling other people's companies, not ours. So if you'd like to do an interview with us, you're more than welcome to come down. We're going to have Kevin the Goat there. He's going to be here next week, I hope. We're going to have him in as one of our guests to interview. And you're going to be around that 3 days for me.
I might hang around.
You got to. And I think we're going to try to broadcast live right through from 9:30 till 4:30 every day. So there'll be some dead air here and there. Saying that, we're going to have some formal interviews at 11 and 2 all 3 days. And we're looking for people to come on. We have Cushman & Wakefield coming on. I don't even know the name of all the companies we have coming on now, do we? Sanji. He does fire life protection stuff like sprinkler heads.
Yeah.
Trust One Security, Doug Macy. He's coming on. And we've never done this before, so it's either going to be a wicked bust. It's not going to go well at all. Or it's going to turn out to be one of those things that the show really likes and wants to see happen more often. Because we're taking social media to a trade show that's all humans, and we're going to take social media there live, which is a really dynamic thing to do for this trade show.
If it goes to be a bust, I'm going to let Kevin. I'm going to let Kevin the Goat out of his cage and let him run the conference floor.
That's a great idea. We just ran a light, didn't we? Does that mean the show's over?
Yeah, it died.
I'm Tim Byrne, Almost Live. This is Anthony Vinzi from ProMain. Our lighting's gone. The show's over. I want you to have a safe drive home if you're listening to this. Oh, always, right? Okay, so I want you to all remember this. If you want to become a hero and you want to succeed in life, you got to stick your head above that foxhole and take a few shots every once in a while. You have a great night. Be safe.